some of the major things that come to your mind when we say the word woman? Positive, negative, question marks, like what?
Positive, of course.
Positive. Positive.
Somebody that you rely on.
Somebody you rely on most of the time.
Mostly,
Somebody you rely on. Somebody you can
you
depend.
rely on.
You rely on. You
And
depend.
take it granted as true.
Okay.
Because the husbands, the kids, they take the mom and the wife and
Taking her for granted.
that's for granted.
Okay.
Granted as true that she will be there.
So somebody like she's always there. Yeah, for granted. Like we don't always need to ask for a favor or please or no. She'll always do it. Just yeah.
Yeah.
A woman is there. The mother is there. The wife is there.
Say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like she's my least worries. She's my least worries. The last thing I should worry about. Yeah, she's okay. She's fine. She's
Because
cool and
Husband
she's
think that he is a boss.
You think?
okay.
What is it?
He thinks so. He thinks that he's a boss, but he's not.
But he's not.
But he's not. Okay. So that's a positive view for men from a woman's side. And you know, when I was designing the PowerPoint presentation and thinking of, like, you know, when I was writing a woman, and then I was thinking of a color to put, and so do you really think that there are sort of feminine colors or a feminine view of life?
Not anymore.
Pardon me?
Not anymore.
Not anymore? Yeah, not anymore. So how about women? Like, do you see these are like sort of feminine colors? Doesn't matter what? Like, are there sort of softer, more feminine colors or no?
It depends on the, I think, it depends on the stage of life
Okay.
and personality of the person, of the woman.
But generally speaking, I'm talking about like generally speaking, do you think there are feminine colors? Like there are
It's
feminine
very light,
views?
like usually the linen, the fuchsia,
Yeah.
the bright colors
Colors.
are attached with the women.
So bright colors,
Bright colors.
Pink. Yeah.
pink,
Pink,
soft,
yeah.
soft colors, yeah, usually are more appealing to women. Now, of course, the very big question is that is there a balance today or not between men and women? And how correct or incorrect do you think that this picture is today, this scale? Do we have still an unbalanced scale where like men are getting much more rights than women, or men have a leverage over women?
It depends on where the woman live.
But generally speaking, again, around the world.
If there's a woman accepting to be in the other side of the balance, I'm happy.
2 in 1. You mean like 2 women by 1 man?
If there's a woman accepting to be
overweight.
overweight,
Because that's
I think more than that.
Okay, thank you, of course, for sharing the joke, but seriously, let's be serious, please, because it's a serious topic. Seriously, how correct or incorrect is this picture?
It's
correct.
You think it's correct?
Yeah.
Do gentlemen, do you think it's correct?
What type of rights?
Here in Canada, even
What? They are asking for rights. Okay,
so
rights of what?
do you think men and women are sort of equal today, or do men have more?
More
than
help.
women?
Nowadays they are equal. But still you can
But
feel
around the world again, not
Yeah.
not in Canada, around the world. I'm talking about around the
men
world.
have more
That's
rights.
it, it's
Still,
like-
the men has more rights.
Men have more rights than women.
Yeah.
even wages.
Okay, and even men get more wages. So the same job done by a man and a woman, the man would get more per hour or per day or per month than the rate of the man is higher than a woman. Now, the very controversial thing, which is religion, the role of religion in the oppression of women. We have, people would argue that men of religion throughout the ages have taken religion as a tool to oppress women. In the name of religion, in the name of God, they want to oppress women. And before we go any further, how correct or incorrect do you think this is? Do you think that religion was, or at least still is, a tool to oppress women around the world?
Who ruled the religion? It's men.
Men, okay, yeah. So men of
So-
religion.
Yeah, they use religion to
Oppress.
oppress the women. Yeah.
Okay, so
Maybe not the religion is saying that, but they use this.
Like, for example, in Islam, if in the court, for example,
okay.
they took two women, opposite, opposed
witness.
to for witness, of
Okay.
course, yeah, like
Mhm.
testimonial or something. In one man and two women. Why
Yeah.
is that?
So
Okay, and for another example, if when they inherit something, okay, men took double the portion. Double the portion of the
of the woman,
woman. Right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Real. It's
Yeah.
real. It's real, right? So from these points, people thinks that the man has the right for everything because he's he has privileges.
Okay, so now that we're talking about Islam, let's concentrate on Islam now, and then we'll move to Christianity in a
This is an
minute.
example, of course.
Yeah, so again, this verse in the Quran that states the authority of men over women. And how much has this been used throughout the ages to oppress women?
It's used wrongly. This is the thing that I want to
Yes.
explain. Like the religion is understood wrongly. Like I'm from the persons that I believe in. I have my own stand. I have my own thinking, and religion never ever obsessed me or depressed me.
Okay.
Okay. This ayah, this verse is
Yeah.
the legislation of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and this didn't abuse women. It's understood wrongly, and the stigma that goes all over the years.
Okay.
Okay, because this is for the thing, because usually not every woman has the wisdom. Like we have to admit, I'm a woman, and I say, like, some of the women, they got a shame from the way that they gossip, or they don't understand rightly, or they are not educated, or whatever. And usually the men are the they are the household, or they are responsible for the household, and that's why for the witness of one man for two women, that usually the women talk more. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala made two women to be in the in the witness instead of one man. On the other side, for the inheritance, this is really, it got to me that yes, we inherit less, but because we inherit sometimes more. If you are a sister and you are a mother, you can inherit more. And usually the man, he is responsible for the house, and that's why the Allah Subhanahu wa Taala or the legislations came like this. But if you see, this is not this is fair, not unfair.
Okay.
To get my point, like I went through all the English literature. Unbelievable. Like anybody can, if you don't want to read, it's the books, all the Jane Austen and these stories, they rely on the idea that if the guy dies, she doesn't inherit less she's
Yeah,
kicked out
we'll
of
get
her
to
home.
this. We'll get to this in a minute.
This is,
Yeah,
this is the
I'll get
thing
to this
that
in a
we
minute.
have this in
I'll get to
Islam,
this in a
and we
minute,
think
yeah.
that usually we are attacked in this point.
Mhm.
People has to know and to enlighten, to
Yeah.
understand that we are not obsessed or oppressed, sorry,
Mhm.
by this.
Okay.
We have the ability to even inherit, even
Mhm.
if it is less.
Okay.
Other cultures, they don't have inheritance at all.
Absolutely. With respect to what you're saying, but
Yeah.
we're talking again about what happens on the ground in real life.
Yeah,
Okay. In real life, things might be different. Things might be seen in a different way, and then maybe again, because the point with religion is open to interpretation.
yeah.
Religion is always open to interpretation, and like you said here, like people who usually interpret religion are men, because most of the world lives in patriarchic societies, male-dominated societies.
Yeah.
The father is the figure. Okay, so the leaders of religion are always men. So maybe in theory, maybe in your own understanding, because again, nobody can claim that they have the truth or that they have the right interpretation. This is your own interpretation. Some people might agree to this, others might see otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about what is really implemented in real life.
The men abused
Yeah.
the people in different religions, like, you know, not only Islam, all the men that they were high rank,
Yeah.
they abused the religion in strengthening their power, or in taking the people's money, or in controlling them, because
Okay.
they think that if they loosen it up or they make the people understand it rightly, they will lose their power.
Throughout the ages, women have been oppressed. Like this is, at the end of the day,
Yes.
whether correctly or incorrectly, but at the end of the day, women have been oppressed, treated
Yes.
as inferior creatures to men
Yes.
because of religious verses.
Yes.
Whether they're interpreted in the right way, the wrong way, that's a different story, but this is what has happened. Now, moving again to Christianity, again, you know, referring to the beginning of creation. Now, in the previous verse, actually, maybe there's another important part here. You know, again, going to this verse from the Quran, which is disobedience should be answered, admonish them, and send them to beds apart and beat them. So this is sort of an authority for men to beat women, to beat them physically. Again, of course, interpretation is a very important thing, because the same word for beat in Arabic, the same word used for beat, is also can mean leave them alone. Leave them alone or beat them. Who decided that this word means beat them, not leave them alone? Interpretation, again. Who interprets? It's men of religion, men. So they could have chosen leave them alone, but they preferred no, beat them. Again, here going to Christianity. In the Bible, it is referring to the woman should learn in submission, should be submissive, should give in, should be lesser, and they should not have authority over men. And again, talks about the original sin. The original sin, the first mistake committed by humanity, the mistake committed by Adam and Eve. But here, who's to blame? Eve. Eve is the one who's to blame from eating from the forbidden fruit. The forbidden fruit was Eve that seduced Adam to eat from the forbidden fruit. And again, the relationship between Christ, the church, and the woman is that of submission, complete submission. So Christ is the head of the church, and you know, the Christ and then the woman is headed by the man. So the man is the head of the woman, and Christ is the head of the church. So the woman should treat the man as her Lord. Not as an equal, but as a Lord. Again, there's another, going back to Islam again, there's another saying that is widely accepted by many Muslims, that if a woman was to prostrate, not bow, but prostrate, put her face on the ground for someone else other than God, it would be the husband. This is a widely accepted saying as well. These are there. These are things that are there. I'm not making them up. Please correct me if I'm wrong, if these are things that I'm making them up. Yeah.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, he
Yeah.
said, if I order somebody to submit, to, because the story, we usually ignore the other, they came and they told him, people, they bow to see somebody like, it was, I don't know, it was the Persian or the Romans leader, and the Prophet told him, like, you know, we don't do that, and he was sitting besides his friends, and not in a special way. They were narrating this to him, and then he said, if I say somebody, like a human being, can bow to the other one, it will be, I will tell the wife to submit.
Very good for you talking about this background, but which one is the widely known story? The widely known story is only the part I said.
We quote and do this, and you are like, you know, like as a teacher, it's kind of a metaphor. And also it's the bowing here, as you said, the interpretation. The interpretation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Interpretation, but
it's something common. You
but the words are there.
Yes.
The words are there.
The common understanding, or the usually the stigma that's going there.
So again, take it literally, take it for the word, or take it for the indirect meaning. Is it metaphoric, or is it to be taken literally? Should I implement this verbatim? That is meaning, like, should I implement what I'm reading according to the word exactly? Or should I see an indirect meaning? That's a different story. But throughout the ages, most of the time, these things were taken verbally. Until today, in the Western world, mostly Christian, when a woman gets married, what is her name? What becomes her new name? That of her husband. Yeah, she becomes Mrs. So-and-so, that of her husband. So she is a follower of him. She follows him. And 95% of the rights that women enjoy in the West, do they come from religion? No. No. Those rights were enjoyed by women after the separation of church and state. When church was in control, women were extremely oppressed. Zero inheritance, zero rights, zero nothing. There was something called the chastity belt. When women went to war, they had their women wear chastity belt. It's a belt that women would wear on their sensitive parts. This belt is worn, and it has a lock, and the man locks it, and he takes the key with him. It's metal, a heavy metal belt. It's more like, you know, it's more like a vest actually than a belt. And she wears that, and imagine the kind of weight. Lots of malformations, breaking of the body, breaking of the bones, inflammations, but who cares? Who cares? Until the separation of church and state, women had almost no rights at all. Away from Islam and Christianity. What should happen to a widow in India, according to the Hindu tradition?
They wear all the time white? Or they burn them? Because I was just debating this yesterday.
Yeah.
Do they used to burn them?
Yeah, so again, if a woman Now, in the Indian culture, basically, the woman would pay a dowry to the man. So the woman would come in and ask, she would woo the man, ask for his hand in marriage, and she would try to give him dowry, gifts, and things like that for him to marry her. But once the man dies, people will look, why are you still alive? Why are you still here? What good are you if you're not serving? Yeah, what good are you if you're not serving the man? What good are you if you're not with your husband? What good are you? You have no value without your husband. Again, in some cultures, again, the woman of a dead husband, if her husband is a deceased husband, he just died, she is seen as a monster. She's seen as a monster, and she should be imprisoned in a room, and she should never change her clothes, never comb her hair, ever, for the rest of her life. She just stays in this room. People would just pass some drink and food to her. That's it. Would this show you, like, do you see that one is more superior than the other? Is this a relationship of superiority? Like, is there somebody above the other? Or are they complementary? Complementary. So, most of the things that you're missing here, you'll find here. And the other way around. Yeah. So, does anybody think that the world needs more? That, you know, like the world needs more of this than that, or the other way around? Or it needs both, right? Needs both, right? But is one of them better for leadership? Because what is the percentage of women in leadership today around the world? Again, talking around the world in general. Yeah, less than men. How less than men? Just a little bit less?
No. Maybe just 10%.
Yeah, like by far around the world, percentage of women in leading roles is minimal. So the women not being in leading roles, is it a natural thing because of this or not? So do you think, like, because women think in this way, they should not be leaders, and because men think in this way, they should be leaders?
No.
They were taught to do like this way and that way.
So, do you think, again, like, this is an unfair treatment of women, not getting leadership positions? Pardon me?
For example, education, the woman all the time doesn't have education, enough education as men. It's very effective to go the men ahead and takes the higher position and so on.
Okay, so
one on the reason, not all, of course.
I remember through my study time, most of the women were better in memorizing than men. So the memorizing is easier for them, and this is where it can help them in some college and some studies more than men. So this is where they focus on some, like journalists, like lecture. So these business fields doesn't have leadership, while men focusing more on more scientific issues or
more political issues. Political issues.
Like, you know, this is the art study. So it can be like, she can excel in it.
But who are the leaders of journalism? Who are the leaders of politics? Are they men or women?
Men.
Yeah. Who are even the leaders of art, of anything?
Men.
Men again, right? Even like the art field, even like women might be more capable of production and excelling in the art field more than the science field. Still the leaders are men. Still the leaders are men. Like the leaders of everything almost are men. The most prominent things in the world are basically men. So according to this picture, the people to blame the most for women not having their full rights, not having equality like men, are women. So women are not serious enough
sometimes they are like, you know, they are delayed or backed, like, you know, sometimes with the circumstances, if she's married and she has kids, this is one thing. If it, like, you know, sometimes in yourself, like from the stigma or from the vibe that is around you in the society, you feel you yourself like you are not balanced, or you are not having the strength and the not only the strength, like the security in yourself that you can do it. You need encouragement.
Okay.
And how did they reach to this point, like to be less strength? The society made them, and before that, their religion, they made them like, she's weak and she cannot do this job, and she accepts, she should accept less wages. The society influence those, I think, women, like, you know.
But you know, the thing is, when you say society, what is society made of? It's 50% men, 50% women. So again, isn't it quite true? Like, you said society says that, but why does society...
Not say, but it's real, that it happens. It's
but how about women?
occurs.
How about
It's
women?
occurs.
Like, where is women's role? Is this really true? Do you think that, like, here, the women left the WO and made it men just because they found a sale? Are women, like, they think about more trivial stuff? More less important stuff?
No, it's like in the slide before, not the cognition. Cognition, we have to understand the differences, and that's why they complement each other. The women and the brain of the woman and the brain of the man, they are created to integrate together to make the society. So the women, for example, we can like, you know, speak 3,000 words per day. The man is it's 1,800, like 1,800. Okay, we can think of multiple things. Usually men are focused on one thing. Okay. Like if you are thinking about your job you have a project or whatever, and the wife comes and say, oh, we have an electricity issue, we have a problem in the plumbing, we have the kids or something, oh, leave me alone. But we think like we are driving and we are thinking we are going to cook. Who is standing in front of the garage? This is, this is, wallahi, it's Allah's created us like this. We think in multiple things. So knowing this, we accept each other, we integrate with each other. And the key thing to success for anything in this, because I'm not from the people that says, oh, women, they have to do this. Oh, men, no. In some things I can say society would be something good, and in some things I have to say that the liberty that we have now, we have to implement it.
Okay.
But reasonably. And whoever doesn't have this reason in him, he can seek for help.
So you're saying that in terms of cognition, their cognitive skills, their mental skills
are different.
But they're complementary.
Complementary,
They
yes.
complement each other. But so you don't think that women are to blame, because again, they are half of the society. Now, if the society today is not giving women their rights, definitely women are to blame, because women are half of the society. Why do they accept it? Why do they take it? Is it because, you know, like they're really oppressed, or because they're careless?
No, oppressed. They don't have the confidence in themselves. Sometimes
women generally trust more, men or women? Women themselves. Who would they trust more? Men.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So why is that? Why do women not trust themselves? Why do they not trust each other?
Because they just talk, they don't trust each other, they just talk gossip and they do.
So you think it's something in the nature of women not to trust each other? So what does everybody else think? Do you think that?
Maybe not for every single woman.
Of course, yeah.
Some women are like that. Is it true?
Okay. Okay.
Depends.
A general practitioner is a woman, but how about a specialist? If you need to go for a surgery, for example, would you go for a woman or a man?
Like depends on the surgery, you know, because sometimes I don't know. For example, for the
there is no woman in
Orthopedic, yeah.
Most of them,
Yeah.
most of them are men. I didn't hear about surgeon, a woman surgeon in orthopedic. Right?
Okay.
Did you hear that?
And why is that? Yeah, why is that? And even if you talk about art, can you remember the name of internationally well-known woman musician, for example? Woman musical composer. Can you name like the equivalent of someone like Bach, Beethoven? You know, those people. Do you have anything? And like, you know.
And when did they, Bach and Beethoven and those were in that old ages?
Okay.
Also, the men were like what?
There is in the Spanish, I think there is Freda or whatever. I don't like her, but there was. I think she was a
but
an
also
artist.
How many men?
Compared,
but also the man
the dedication. This is the play roles and the dedication of the people. How long or how, like, you know, the people, like say here in Canada, for example, from a couple of years, okay, the women were not allowed to go to medicine. Did you see that they had an ad on CBC or something like? Remember that I can't remember the name of the lady that she went and she told them we can also study, like, you know.
This happens in our countries as well. Before, ladies weren't able to go to medicine school.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Canada, this is something, what you're referring to is what we call the suffrage movement in Canada. So many of the people in, like, you know, in Canadian history, you know, the women were not allowed to vote and were not allowed to have any leading positions in Canada. And the first women who had the rights to vote were nurses who went to war. So they were basically nurses who went to war and wives of, you know, again, of soldiers.
I saw this in a movie.
Yeah. And then later on, like eventually, and it was called the suffrage movement. So women had to suffer to get these rights, to be able to vote in the parliament and then to have, you know, people, representatives, to have members of parliament, to run for office. It was a suffrage movement. It was a real long suffrage movement. But you think today, according to what you said again, women are again not taking things so seriously. And like the leader here, she was shocked. Like the moment she turned her back, you know, they left.
Vote for me.
They're not like, oh, she's a nice woman like us, so, you know, we can always go for the sale and then come back. But maybe they think like if the leader was a man, no, like they would think twice. This picture here has two questions, and one is very much related to what you're saying, even before going to domestic violence. How much does the society today, in most of the world, look at a single man versus a single woman? Especially if this single man and woman are a little bit old in age. Are they both accepted? Do people ask equal number of questions about both? Like somebody who's not married. Who has more stress on them that you must get married? Man or woman? Why is that? Why?
For the children and pregnancy and
For children.
Yeah, this is the statement that
So you got married, after 1 month they ask you, are you pregnant?
Oh.
And you're not? It happened to me when everybody knows I'm married, and when I went around the length, some ladies from Syria, I don't know, they always ask me, whenever they see me, they ask me, are you pregnant? Why are you pregnant? What happened? Oh my God, I don't want to be like, it's so annoying.
And why is a woman seen as incomplete, like if she's not married or if she doesn't have a child?
It's a stigma. Everything we hold with the knife. Like, you know, like the domestic violence, the sadness, the depression, thinking lower of a woman or her capability.
Okay.
These things are going, it takes time to change. So it's a stigma. You have to prove yourself also. You have to earn it.
No, but also men are stronger than women.
Yeah,
Women
that's
want
okay.
to
Well, I'm not
men.
saying that we are going to work in mines or stuff. No, this is you have to be sensible
It
also.
depends, of course, on the man, but
Yeah, who said sometimes the woman is much stronger than him, and she's the one who's working. She's the one who gets money.
Getting money.
She's the one who opens the house, taking care.
even the strengths, we're not talking
What
about...
is strength
But this
mean?
is the
What
strength.
is
As you said,
strength means
Physical
muscles?
Yeah, it needs muscles.
Why?
If you are in a society where there are robbers or this stuff,
So?
for a woman,
Yeah.
they can come and they can enter, but if there is a man strong, he can...
yeah, but also as you said, there are jobs like there are mining, there are construction. These needs men.
If there is.
Okay,
So-
but if you are an architecture, you can draw the building, and they can put it into.
Related to what maybe you're saying here, that some, and this happens in many households. The woman might be smarter, might be making more income than the man. She might be more educated. She might have a higher role than the husband. But at the end of the day,
She needs the husband.
so again, physical strength. So
Okay, she can
What
go
a man.
to karate sessions, or she can build muscles and be.
but
It happens.
no matter how much she builds muscles and takes training, but
If it is
again,
if it is about physical
But
abilities.
nature says that men are stronger than women. Like no matter what you do. So like okay, because if she exercises, he can exercise as well. She can take karate, he can take karate. At the end of the day, he is stronger physically. So do you think that men resort to physical violence? Do you think that men resort to physical violence against women, beat them up, to cover for their other weaknesses?
Sure,
Yes,
100%.
he's failure. If he does this, he's a failure. And he shows his strength and to beat and like use his muscles against
Okay.
her. Because of course she's better than him.
Sorry, what type of life he's using his muscles?
Certain way, he uses the force or his strength to oppress her,
Okay.
to show her that he is still like he has the control. But this shows that he is weak from inside, as you said. He has a problem, and he wants to cover it.
He has no other way of
Let
expressing it.
Yes.
Let me explain something.
Yes.
I think here we have shortage in dialogue inside the house. If we are talking about something like that, okay? They are not talking to each other. If they are talking to each other, they should not reach that level. This is, why we should fight.
Yes.
I believe, treat her as queen, she treat you as king.
But this is the
Yeah,
optimum.
but
This is the optimum.
no, it's not optimum.
this is the
This is beat her. That's not the end of the story. This is the beginning of the story. The next of the life, the continuous of the life is completely different than before. So once you break that level of respect, you cannot get it anymore.
But this is a wise thinking.
No, it's not
Hopefully,
up to-
like
this is-
hopefully if we have 90% of the
Again,
people-
this is what we are not talking about, shortage
Yeah.
in dialogue. They are not talking to each other.
I
If I'm working
understand you
now-
fully. I have no problem. I have no problem in understanding you, and I have no problem also in expressing other people's problems, because this is even a problem in high society. Before, we used to think that lower people or blue collar jobs, that the people that if she's a maid or whatever, her husband will beat her. Now they are doctors, they are celebrities, they are movie stars, and they beat them. Actually, there was once a documentary. Even queens, not she was not a queen. She was like a royal, and she was beat.
It's not about.
She annoyed him. Maybe
Why
she annoyed him.
How do you define your family? Like, is your family made of men only? So it's women too, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing. The old generation, the women, like for me, I usually say this, like, you know, the worst kind of abuse is the mental abuse. Like, if somebody is whispering in your ear and it comes built in you, you are not worth it, you are not worth it, you are not worth it. You will, at one point, you will believe that you are not worth it. So how you will stand for yourself?
But who says this again? Who says it?
The generations, the old generations. Even if it is a mom, it's an aunt, it's the mother-in-law.
Society, taboo. Everything is a taboo.
Men use religion.
Men use
Religion all the time as an excuse or a
But why can't women use religion too?
Because they don't read.
They don't read.
The rights.
Okay.
They don't read.
So again here in other words, we can say that really we have women to blame. Like it's not
In this case, the women are
the women are the ones to blame again.
Most of them, they don't treat because they are not educated. I mean, in some countries, they prefer to educate the boys rather than the girls. Right? So they grew up.
So it's the chicken or the egg. So which one comes first? So it's the chicken or the egg? Yes, please.
They're not to blame, but they are complicit. And so if you're looking for somebody to blame, it's the men, because they're the ones that took those interpretations of religion and society, and they created this culture of what a woman is supposed to be, what a man is supposed to be, which is also oppressive on the men, because they think that, oh, I have to be this tough guy, and you know, my wife can't outshow me, or I'll look like I'm horrible, and so I need to make her sit down. So I don't think women are to blame. They're just complicit if they go on and they spew the same ideas.
But if they're complicit, like complying with
they're
that,
guilty.
Aren't they? Yeah, they're
guilty.
Take it.
Yeah, no, and it's the same thing like my mom always says, like I feel like older generations, they don't improve with the next generation. So when they were young, they would be like, oh, why are people telling me, like, why am I pregnant or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then when they're older, they start to ask the same questions. Or it's the same thing, like a wife could complain about her husband, and then she instills in her son those same qualities, and he becomes a horrible husband too. But then she defends it because it's her son. But it was horrible when her husband was doing it. So people don't have the sense, it's kind of like a double standard. They don't really have the sense of, like, I guess, like empathy or like growing past it, or I don't know.
So is it like sort of empathy or apathy? Like they just don't care about the other side at all. So how's usually a mother-in-law with her daughter-in-law in many societies?
Like the devil.
Yeah.
By the way, the mother-in-law, you will be mother-in-law later.
Yeah.
So
The wise people, this is what we lack. Sometimes the people, when they go through certain agony, okay, either they will do the same stress that was brought on them, or they will be much better people. It depends. It depends.
Okay.
Either in pregnancy or in mother-in-law or in as a daughter, like, you know, the roles change throughout our life. So we don't know.
No, I think the mother-in-law, she's thinking that her son deserves better than her. The mother-in-law from the other side, she's thinking that her daughter is deserving better than him. And this is the, you know, the thinking.
Yeah, man, this is also because what we learned here, okay, from that changes also the way that we brought up our kids, that we have to love our kids, but we don't let them, say, for example, live our dreams. Like if somebody was not able to do a certain dream. Also to lower our expectation from our kids, so we don't interfere in their lives. Whether I prefer that this is, everyone, like I wish somebody for my daughter or for my son, but I can't impose this on him.
Okay.
Now it wouldn't be like, you know, the time, not only the country, it's across the world.
Okay.
Okay.
And when we come to choose, like, for example, so a mother-in-law, or like she's looking for, or if a man would choose a wife or a partner, and a woman would choose a wife, would choose a partner, a husband. So how much percent of spirit, body, and mind does a man look for in a woman and vice versa? So does a man look at a woman as like third, or does he look at something more than the other in a woman?
Something more than.
So what is
No, you have to tell us this.
Body, you think?
For the women, but for the men, it's still a black box. For me, I have to.
I think in the beginning they just look the body,
Yeah.
how it looks.
Yes.
After mind, and the last is spirit.
No. Okay.
Don't speak about your mouth.
It is. No, you're not. It is not 1% fixed percentage from the beginning to the end. Okay. If there's nothing interesting from the beginning, you cannot go to that spirit and the mind. Okay, so at least there's something attracting you to go.
Why do women wear makeup and not men? Why do women have to wear makeup but not men?
Nowadays, men start.
Yeah, but generally speaking again, why do women wear makeup but not men?
To attract.
So to attract again.
To attract men.
She wants to feel good
Yeah,
about herself.
she wants
Yeah.
to feel
Yeah,
good.
there are
Standing man.
standards. There are standards of beauty
Yeah,
that
not always just
not
always for the men, no.
Yeah.
But why feel good about yourself with your external looks?
for every day.
Most of the women around the world would care about, like, even in a wedding, for example. Like, a man would not put any makeup, like, you know, it's, but a woman would have to be, like, extremely,
They will create.
the woman has to put, like, the maximum amount of makeup on a wedding, you know, plus, you know, like, eyelashes, etc., 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 etc.
Actually, I think it's the thinking are different. Men believe women make up for them, but women think we make up for ourselves. So the thinking different. Yes.
So to, like, make up for yourselves to look,
Make us happy.
to make you happy.
Yeah, this is the thing. If you are not happy, you can make money around you to be happy. And it's something like it's by nature. Like even when you go to a wedding, usually what you are looking up to see the bride. You want to see a bride, beautiful bride. It has to be beautiful. So this is a lot.
But like most of the concentration is on the looks of the bride. Like for men, like the wedding is like, it's an easy thing. Like they would wear a suit and that's it. You just wear the suit, that's it. Have a good haircut, maybe like do a facial mask, you know, like if you want to be like really fancy and clean, and you're cool. But the woman, no, it's an entirely different story.
Why not make us pretty?
In my wedding party, my wife, 2 days before she was preparing for the wedding and she's going for the makeup and try after try and this is not good. Okay, now the wedding day, she called me 5:30 and I was sleeping. Afternoon. What you are doing? Sorry? Yeah. I was sleeping, just sleeping. So nothing to do. For men it's like, it's easy. You know? Like, you don't need to prepare lots of stuff. Like you just bring yourself.
Ask the ancient Egyptians why did they create those big cups.
Even the Asians,
They create that why.
So
and men were putting men and women were
there we go. So in ancient civilizations, you're talking about like ancient Egypt, like created this makeup thing, but in ancient Egypt, both men and women wore makeup, and both men and women wore wigs as well.
Wigs and the clothes are.
And the more leading position the man had, the more feminine he would look. When the man becomes in a leading position, he would wear a wig to look more like a woman.
And women were in high positions, like queens. They lead the leaders.
Now, like we saw in, like in the beginning of the 20th century and before, it was like more covered, more loose. Now later on it became more tight and shorter. And we see here that most fashion designers are men. So are women really wearing fashion, or are they wearing what men want them to wear? So, because the question is, who are the famous fashion designers for men? Who are the most famous fashion designers for men? Men. Who are the most famous hairdressers for men? Men as well, but for women, who are the most famous fashion and hair designers? So why is that? And so, like, maybe what is considered to be more fashionable for women is actually they're just falling for men. Men are putting them in a trap to make them look more attractive to them.
But in the past, they also
like Chanel.
Who knows? For example, in the past days, who designed these dresses for the women?
It was always
now the designer, primary designer is a man. She passed away last month.
In past days.
Yeah, because
what made the ideas change with the new designer?
But again, for women, even in the past, most of their bodies were covered.
Yeah.
But how about the waist of the woman?
Yeah.
In the past, the women's bodies were covered, but the waist was so tight for women.
The smallest is the most beautiful.
So they had to wear like this thing under their clothes, and this caused actually several problems in the digestive system, the respiratory system, in the circulatory system. Some women used to faint in parties sometimes because it was too tight. Again, always looking for like attractive to men. What is more attractive to men during that time is what women would wear. But at the same time, they think, yeah, I'm looking more trendy. If I don't wear this, I'm not fashionable. I don't look elegant enough. But who are you really wearing that for? You are putting that to make men enjoy you more?
Maybe. To attract the eyes, like, you know, it's kind of like, it's something nature. Like, women has to be beautiful, and like, you know, she feels happy or whatever, that when she attracts more men or people are complimenting her. This is nature. This is not something like...
So you think it is nature for women to be more of a body than a heart and soul?
It's the first
and mind and
like,
soul?
You know, usually psychologically. The men, they are attracted with their eyes, the women are attracted with their ears. That's why sometimes she falls in love with somebody. He's not like handsome or whatever.
Okay.
He looks unbelievable, but he is decent, and he like, you know, he whispered in her ears.
Cheating. In the first time.
But you know, and this is like maybe the last but very important point, like the percentage of, you know, women versus men in prostitution, in slave trade, in pornography, in, you know, like sex trade, strip clubs. Why is it always mostly women? There to make men enjoy, but hardly like. There are what we call gigolos. These are men who do sex for a living. But what is the percentage of gigolos compared to women prostitutes? Again, a prostitute is both masculine and feminine. But when you usually say the word prostitute, what comes to people's mind is a woman. Just like the word nurse. Nurse is for men and women. But when you usually say the word nurse, people think it's a woman. And some people, even like new learners of English, sometimes they're shocked. Oh, really? A man nurse? Like, they think like this word is for a woman only. Prostitute is for a woman, but no, you can have a man prostitute as well. So why is it this way? Like, why is a woman like sort of chained just to give her body for the man to enjoy? why is that? Like, why are there much more women than men?
God gives the beauty of
This is the nature
body,
also.
the beautiful body to women. He didn't give that man any beautiful.
So,
And those men attract to.
because of the economic situation,
Yeah, the woman has
so women are
equal
usually
rights for wages and for job and for so on, because they will, she want to job as job, job.
so because usually women have lesser income than men,
Yeah.
and they're much dependent on it.
Equal opportunity of job in all societies.
Okay, okay. So this is a major reason as well. So of course, just the very end. Which one of these do we have today? Do we have equality, equity, feminism? Because
Equality.
because when women today are working just like men, right? But when they go home,
Housewives.
exactly. So
Have extra jobs.
so does this mean? So okay, so does this mean that women today have equality or equity? Because if, according to what you're saying, women have equality,
Equality.
but not equity.
No.
Because you wanted to work like men, go ahead and work like men.
But you keep working at it.
Exactly.
Have all the other work.
So you have to cook, you have to take care of the kids, everything, cleaning, everything.
Be responsible of all.
And what if anything wrong goes with the kids?
Yeah, for
Yeah. And the husband would say, take care of your kids.
Yes.
Your kids.
And if he gets good marks, yeah, he's mine.
My child, exactly.
My child.
Like the father.
Yeah.
He would only remember.
Let me ask this question. If there is low income at home, who should be blamed? Man or woman?
If there is.
Low income in the home. You'll ask the woman or you'll ask the man?
It depends who's
No, this one will ask the man.
No, stereotypically, it's expected of the man to provide for the household.
Without any favoring.
But provides, and she provides a family. Yes, everyone has his own role.
So there's not competition.
There is no overlapping.
Yeah,
This
there's
is
no
the-
competition.
this
It's
is
not
the
competition.
thing. Like if we continue thinking wisely, there is no overlapping. There is no fight. There is integration together. Okay, you do your job, will do my job, and with all the love and with all the acceptance.